Welcome in, Knighthawks fans, to another week and another episode of Hawk Talk. Alongside Knighthawks General Manager Dan Carey, I'm Susie Pohl. The Knighthawks, with their first game of the 22-23 campaign this past weekend, a 16-11 win over Georgia. Dan, what was that first win an indication of for this team this season?
I think we showed some resiliency going into the half. We were down 9-6, and it was great for us to be able to kind of extend our lead once we got it back in the third. And I think it showed a lot about the character that we have and the guys that we have that we've added. I think we've added some dynamic players and veteran players as well. So great win. I think in this league you have to move on pretty quickly, whether it's a win or a loss, and we're pretty happy after the game, but we move on to the next challenge.
Speaking of new additions, forward Connor Fields with an 11-point night, 4 goals, 7 assists. In what ways did he elevate the offense?
Again, I think he's one of those players that's very dynamic. We had a great showing from a lot of guys, and I think he definitely benefited from that, but also our other players around him benefited from his play. So he works so hard, he prepares so well, and I think given the opportunity that he has here to have the ball more in his stick, he's got holding Katoni on that side that I think relieves some pressure off of him as well, and others on the other side. We have what I believe is a little bit more of a well-rounded offense this year, and he's a big part of that. So great to see him have the success that he had in Game 1.
Looking ahead to this week, it's opening night at Seeger and Shortino Field against the Toronto Rock. What about their offensive game does your team need to be aware of?
They're dynamic. They have a lot of firepower on their offense. They move the ball very well. Offensively, they're a great team, but I think their strength is just as much or more on the back end. They're very, very good defensively and in the net. So we have a very tough challenge ahead of us, and we're excited for that. It's a good test. Georgia's a good team, and they've got a lot of great veterans, but we move on to Toronto now, and we want to see how we stack up against them.
The home opener. What's exciting you about getting to play in front of the fans here in Rochester finally?
I think there's a lot that excites us about being back at home at the Blue Cross Arena. The last year with all the COVID restrictions we had, it was something that we had to kind of overcome some obstacles. This year's a lot different. We have kind of a clean slate, and we have a different team. So we're really excited about showcasing that, but know that there's a lot of work ahead of us. We want to come out and work as hard as we possibly can for our fans here in Rochester, and excited for them to show up for our first home game.
Dan, thank you so much for taking the time to join me here today. Opening night, that's night with a K in front of it for Knighthawks, is this Saturday at the Blue Cross Arena as the Knighthawks take on the Toronto Rock. Face-off is set for 7 p.m. That was Hawk Talk for this week. We'll see you next week, everybody.